Jack, I don't remember.
Hmm?
I don't remember Jack.
You don't remember him?
No.
Well, he went on through school, and I think he went to Riders too. I think Leo, he went to night school in Philadelphia, and Nick went to Riders. But Nick used to play ball, though. I remember very with the Sears Roebuck in Trenton, and they had a team in Philadelphia, and he was a good player. Well, to have the Philadelphia team, you know he must be good. And then they used to play ball on Sunday, but we had a player piano then, and the ball players would come out from Trenton to play with the team. My mother used to cook for everybody, and we had the player piano. Boy, we'd sing and play, dance, and we always had good times.
Yeah.
We never had to worry about, how others, We were a very close family and a happy family. And my mother, and I remember when I was just a child, we would go, my father was responsible too for the church. There's the church, Monmouth Junction, and he was responsible for building that church because, well, I haven't gone back. My father, when he came from Italy, do you have anything, you hear any of that story?
No, tell us about that.
Good.
Yeah, we want you to tell us about Grandmom and Grandpapa when they came from Italy.
Well, from what Mom told me, she said she was only 9 years old when they came over. And she said her mother was 39, and her mother was pregnant. And she had two brothers, Uncle Dan and Uncle Dominic. And so they came over on the boat. It took 1 month to come here from Italy. And Pop had three brothers. Uncle, wait a minute now. I gotta stop and think. Uncle Joe, he was a tailor. And Uncle Dominic, he went to Philadelphia. And Uncle Dan, he went into the coal mines up in Pennsylvania.
They were all Santazucios, right?
Huh?
They were all Santazucios?
They were what?
All the Santazusos?
Yeah. The three brothers, they came over together. No, two of them came with Pop. Uncle Otto, Odin was his name in Italian, he decided he wanted to stay and be a priest. He was going to be a priest. So he stayed in Italy. He didn't come with them. So Uncle Dan and Uncle Joe, Uncle Dominic, and Pop, and Uncle Dan came. What am I saying? It's with four brothers.
Four brothers. Oh, I see.
Otto, he stood in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to think now. I'm trying to think of the story my mother told me.
Where did your mother meet your father?
Mom said that when they came over, she was awful sick. And, they had them in the stowaways, because they didn't have any money. And she said they were like cattle down there. And she said she remembers she was so sick, and her mother prayed and prayed because she said that she was so afraid she said I would die, and they had to throw me overboard because they had no place to keep them. If they died, they threw them in the ocean. And my mother said her mother prayed and prayed that she would make it. And Mom would never go back to Italy. She said she would never go for a trip. Everybody went to Italy. My mother would never go. And she said, I got here and I'm satisfied. I don't care about over there. This is my home, my mother said. So my mother was only 9 years old. But her mother was pregnant, and she had the baby, and she died and giving birth.
Oh,
Her
my.
mother's mother died while giving birth to the baby. Well, it was a little boy, and so my mother said she took care of the baby.
Imagine.
She was only 9 years old, and she said she would give the baby with the milk with a teaspoon to put in the baby's mouth. Well, the Italian people, they thought it was terrible. The baby would die. So Mom said she took care of the baby for 2 weeks, and the baby lived. Then the Italian woman said, I'm taking the baby home and I'm going to give the baby my breast.
Yes. Dry, wet nurses.
To feed the baby. The baby wouldn't take the milk,
Uh-huh.
and it starved to death.
Oh, my God.
The baby died. And Mom said, see, if I had kept the baby, but they said she couldn't because she was only 9 years old. So they lived in Philadelphia. And so that's where Mom met Pop. But she didn't, she got married when she was 14. Mom got married when she was 14. She met Pop. Pop was 17 when he came over. And he said that he was a mosaic worker. He worked in the stations, doing this mosaic work.
Mm-hmm.
in
Mosaic tile, the tiles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Washington, D.C., and Massachusetts, Boston, and wherever, in stations, and, all big places, New York.
Mm-hmm.
So Mom, she was just only 14 years old, and she married him. So, well, I think she said she was 17. Who's that? My girl, is
Yes. Oh, here comes Virginia.
that Virginia's coming?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
This is very good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she comes every day.
She doesn't change at all.
She takes care of the books for me,
Good. Good.
because I can't do it anymore,
So your mother married your dad?
Yeah, she married Pop, and as I say, she was only 14. But when Maggie was born, she was 17. They didn't have children until Mom was 17 when she gave birth to Maggie. And Uncle Dan, we never heard from him.
Come on in, Virginia.
Come on in.
Join us.
Come on in. Yeah, we want you to join us. Come on.
Yes.
Yes.
You grew up in South Brunswick.
Yes. Oh,
Come
come
on,
on. Kay and
Virginia.
Mike did it. Aunt Bree, Mom.
Enjoy.
Hiya.
Come on, Virginia. You don't have to get on. You just sit with us. Reminisce about South Brunswick.
Yeah.
Things to do.
I'm gonna show.
Doing okay?
I think I take terrible pictures.
You're fine.
Okay, good. We're on again.
Very nice.
Yes,
Like,
right.
you look just the way I remember you.
You're good. Okay.
What are you doing?
There was a beep on there. No, it's still on there. I don't know. That must be that's the same tape. Might be the tape. It's a tiny beep in the background. That's all. I hope it doesn't bother people, but I can't
We
get it.
have that beep all the time here. We get it too. They say there are too many people on Y, They have this, they get this beep.
No, but these are just the
But
cloth.
my mother, everywhere he went, my dad, she had a little restaurant. She loved to cook. And so she said, I think it was in Philadelphia, a restaurant, and she had this cook. And he said, she said, when the people brought the food back, he was, keeping it and he adding it to the fresh food. She said, what are you doing? He said, well, we're not going to throw it away. She said, look, we certainly are going to throw it away, she said. And she said, that's terrible. And she said, you're fired. She fired him. And she done it, she wouldn't have another one. she said, I wouldn't have another cook. I did it all myself, she said. And she said she had so much business, you know. Everywhere she went, the food, well, she could cook. And I learned from her. And by the parties that we had, and I got some of the recipes yet. And so when we were in Philadelphia then, Maggie was born and Nick was born in Philadelphia. And then when they moved to Boston, Leo was born. And then he came to Trenton, Jack and Jenny and I was born in Trenton. And then when they went to Monmouth Junction, Tony and Arthur was born. So.
And that's when they opened the store in Monmouth Junction? That's when they opened the store in Monmouth Junction?
Yeah. Well, Pop, after they moved from Philadelphia, my father loved to go hunting and all that. So he had come to Trenton for something. And he said, oh, he didn't want to settle in Philadelphia. So there was no Italian produce stores in Trenton. So my father said, well, I'm going to open a produce store in Trenton. And he had the first produce store ever in Trenton on Clinton Avenue, you know, right across from Roebling's, where the market fair is today. So on that corner. So at that time, Mom was pregnant with me when we went to Philadelphia, came from Philadelphia. And they had the apartment right up above the store. And Pop had clams in there and Italian produce, all fresh vegetables and everything. He used to go to Philadelphia every night, you know, and order the stuff. And then they would, you know, bring it in the next day. And so I have to stop and think. But, oh, he had oysters, and the men that worked at the Roebling's, they were so hot, you know, working in front of those big
Steel
heaters and all. They would come in, Mom said, and they'd order the oysters. Then there was a bar across the street. They go and get a can of beer, you know, and bring the beer over, and they'd have the beer and the oysters. And they had quite a business. And my father, you know, he got in with all the doctors and the lawyers and all these big men, you know. They had a club. And so they used to come hunting, go out hunting. He loved to hunt, too. So that's how he went to Monmouth Junction with this club. And Dr. Tempesto, and I don't know, I think it was Dr. Tempesto that delivered me. I was the first, Mom always had a midwife, you know, to order to
deliver.
When to deliver the children. And so Mom said that she had made up her mind that for me, she was going to have a doctor. So it was the time of the feast, you know, on feast. So the band was playing, Mom said. So she said, the band wasn't playing yet. She said, the Pop, you better get the doctor over here, because she said, I think I'm going to have my baby tonight. So he was very friendly with the doctor because they used to go hunting together and all. So the doctor came over, and right 9 o'clock on the button, Mom said, the band had just started to play. They had a band from New York, and I was born. And she said, well, you know, she wanted a girl, she said, because she had 5 boys. So she wanted a girl, and she said, oh, she said, she's going to be a girl. And Mom said, sure enough, it was a girl. Well, then when they came to naming me, and Mom said, I'm sick and tired. You always have to follow the suit, you know, of the family. All the same name, you know, repeating it. Mom said, she's going to be different. I'm going to... She said, I'm naming her after the Princess of Italy, Yolanda. Yolanda, Princess Yolanda. And Mom said, I'm naming her Yolanda. I don't care who likes it. But I don't know where Viola came out from, because my mother told me, you know, the story later. And so I said, well, why? And it's funny, Dan Guanola, he always calls me why. He can't say why. He always says why. Why me? So I guess I've been a why baby since I've been born. So then we had Dr. Carroll from Monmouth Junction, you know. And Dr. Carroll, he had all sons. He had no daughters. And I can see myself yet. I was only about 4 years old, sitting on the step of the store. I get all dressed up with a big bow in my hair, you know. And I'd sit there, and I knew Dr. Carroll would be coming along. And he said, oh, Mrs. Santowasso, can I take Viola with me? He had a horse and buggy. So he put me on the seat, and I had a horse and buggy ride every day with Dr. Carroll. He wanted to adopt me. He said, you have a big family. And he said, I want a daughter so bad. Can I adopt Viola? She said, no.
No. Not at all.
I'm telling you, I had some background. I remember one day, he got a carriage then with a back, you know. It was the four-seater. He had a two-seater. This is a four-seater. And I was on the back seat. I wanted to sit on the back seat. I fell out.
Did he know you were gone?
I fell out of the car, the buggy, and he turned around and he put his hands up to his head. Oh my God, I was in the middle of the road. He came back, but I didn't have a scratch. He said, oh, when I think of these stories, I'm telling you. And so I used to have a like, I don't know, something growing in my eye there. So I remember he took me in the office. He cut it off. It was growing right in my eye. And it was a scar there a long time.
Do you remember when Grandpa had a wagon, or your father had a wagon, and he used to deliver the groceries?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Nzetta was just telling us about that.
Yeah, he used to go to Sand Hills and Dean's.
Yeah.
And the Dean's people and the La Placas and all of them. He used to, Carmen, the Nzettas, and all of them. He used to in stores. And Pop had macaroni cheese, and he had 100-pound bags of beans, and I remember vividly the store. And he'd get a whole slab of bacon, and they used to cut you had to cut by hand then. We didn't have no machines then, you know. You had to slice it by hand. And I remember when we had pigs and chickens, and
Did you have them in Monmouth Junction?
yeah. And Uncle, I can't remember his name now, came from Passaic when we used to kill the pigs, you know. And we used to cry because we were so attached. We didn't want them to kill them, you know. And then he'd get the blood and they made that sanguinacci, you know, with the blood.
I never heard that.
Ew. Oh gosh, I remember all that. And the dogs, we always had dogs. And little Leon, did ever tell you about little Leon?
No.
Mrs. Ziegler, you know, she had the bake shop next door, and she gave us Leon when he was just a puppy. Well, we had dogs this big right on down. And Leo was he was a little German Zash hound, about this long and about this high. His little legs, you know. And so Mrs. Ziegler used to give him cookies. He loved his sugar cookies. And he would go over there, you know, all the time for sugar cookies. And then Mom had a box in the back of the stove, and he used to sleep